I bought $300 worth of beads to make a piece of art. Like, I actually don't know what I'm gonna do with it when I'm done with it. Will I put it in a frame, hang it on the wall? I don't know. Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel. I recently got into beading and I bought like the cheapest kit that you could get at Michael's that had a selection of different colors and the supplies you needed to start beading. And then my addiction to it spiraled and now I've spent like $300 on beads alone. So we started with these 4 colors here: white, black, green, and purple. And then we've now expanded they all came in here. That's $287 worth of beads. And that's actually not all of them. I think I calculated I need like 53 different colors and I wasn't able to get all of them. So, well, you might be wondering, why do you have all these beads? What are you doing? And the real answer to that is, I don't know, but as soon as I saw this, I became obsessed. And once I have an idea in my head, I like can't let it go. So I will show you what we're doing and we'll get into this week's video. Okay, so I found this cross-stitching thing online and I will give more information about it when I remember what it is and I finish explaining this. But anyways, I saw this and was like, let me make that out of beads because I'm actually insane. So what I did is I numbered all of these things along the side that you can see here, 1 through 10, because there's 100 squares and now I'm making 100 squares worth of bead things. And so each row I went through and I turned them all into like a grid, and then I made the colors, and now this is the grid that I'm following. So each one I believe is 10 by 10 beads, in addition to it being a 10 by 10 square. And now I bought all of these beads so that I have all of the colors to do every single one of these squares. So that this one here is this one in the corner. Does it look identical? No, but we've made it into 3 different colors and I've done that for literally every single one. So this one has a bunch of different colors and I've just made it as accurate as I could. I'm not obviously following the colors exactly or the design exactly, but I'm making it as close as possible. And so it took me a long time, but I went through every single row. I've got all 10 rows and they're all numbered. And I actually already started this project, but I didn't know if I wanted to film it or not. So I didn't film the first little bit, but I made 4 squares because these are the only 4 completely black and white ones. And anyways, this is what they're gonna look like when they're all finished. So I put them on tape so that I know what number they are. This is number 5.6. So this is 5.6, that is this one. So it obviously looks different in bead form, which I wasn't really anticipating, but anyways, here we are. So I have 4 of them. I have this one, I have this one that the tape is like folded over on, and this one. So I have 4 of them, only 96 more to go. So all these beads were actually really well packaged. They're all in these little plastic bags that were then bubble wrapped and sealed really nicely. I bought these all from iBead, which is an online bead store. And I found them because they were actually recommended to me by my local bead store because they don't have like a super huge selection of 11.0 Delica beads. They have a lot of other beads, but not the 11.0 Delicas, which is what I wanted for this project specifically because they're like the cylinder type beads that are more uniform than traditional seed beads. So I think these are still technically considered a seed bead, but the shape is more uniform, which is what I wanted for a project that I'm gonna end up having to like sew together. So now what I have to do, now that I've opened and exposed all these beads, is determine which colors I bought go with which color that I've outlined on my list of colors here. So let me find a piece of paper and I will get doing that. Okay, so here's my list of colors, what I labeled them as versus what color is actually on the container that I bought. Purples, I'm not thrilled with my options right now. Like, this is a nice light purple, but medium and dark purple are kind of like colors. So we'll come back to that later. We'll just skip all the ones that have purple in them for right now. And then now I guess it's just time to get started. I guess I'll just start at the top leftmost corner and just work my way over. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I've actually been talking to myself for like the last, I don't know how long I've been doing this for, but anyways, I did the beading for the first 2 squares of the diagram, so 1.1 and 1.2, which is the first row, the first 2 squares. And then when I was done them, I sewed them together And this is what it is looking like so far. Did the colors match exactly? No. Does the pattern look exactly like the picture? No, but that's because we're doing beading and not cross stitching, and we're just making it up as we go. So this is what all the squares are gonna look like eventually. They're gonna be sewn together like this. Can you even tell that it's 2 squares? Barely. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if I'm gonna continue to just like sew them together as we go, or wait until I have all of the squares and then sew them together. I feel like sewing them together as I go is probably a better plan so that I don't have nearly as many just like random little pieces everywhere. So now that I've done 2, let me actually film some for you so that you can come along this journey with me. Okay, so I have my beads laid out here on the table. Do I wish I had a beading mat? Yeah, because this setup is like one cat jumping on the table away from a bad day. So I have the colors. There's 5 that go into this specific design. This one, if I lift my thing up here, this is what it looks like. This is what 2.1 is. So that's what I've got on my screen. And then here are my beads. I also have threaded my needle, my beading needle, onto one just a little bit longer than arm's length piece of thread. So the first thing you're gonna do, not that this is like a really good tutorial or anything, you're gonna take the end of the string and wrap it around your pinky finger a few times. And then you're just gonna hold it in your hand like this, just making sure that the string doesn't slip off your pinky. If you don't wanna do this, you can also string a bead onto the end, like a big bead, so that your small beads that you're beading with do not fall off the end. I'm too lazy to string a bead on there, and I find it kind of slips anyways, so I like to wrap the string around my pinky. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start, if I move you back up here like this, we're gonna start in the top left corner up here and start by working top down. So that means we're gonna string all 10 of these beads onto our needle first, because we're doing an even count peyote stitch, I think is what it's called. And then we'll work our way up row 2 by going from the bottom to the top. Once you have your 10 beads on your needle, you're gonna slide them all the way down your string until you get to basically where your string is in your pinky. I like to move it just like a couple centimeters ahead, and then I hold the end of the beads with my thumb here. And then the rest of them, like I just kind of squeeze them in between my fingers like this. So like I said, now we're moving on to the second row, starting from the bottom to the top. So the first bead in the second row is tan. So this is my tan color. It's actually more yellowish than tan, but that's fine. So you're just gonna pick up that bead, and then on your string of beads here, you're gonna skip this first bead because you just came out of that one, and you're gonna slide your needle through the second bead on the string. It doesn't matter if your beads are kind of flying all over the place. We'll fix that in a second. And you're gonna pull the needle all the way through until the beads are tight. Now, this is what it may look like. This is wrong. So you just like flick the beads around until they lie flat. And then you pull the string tight like this. So you want both of your beads, the center of the bead, to be visible at the end. And then the bead that you just strung them through is gonna be in the same direction like this. So this is your starting point here. So now instead of doing the second bead from the bottom in the second row, we're actually gonna skip that one and do the third bead, which in my case is also a tan bead. So we'll pick up another one of these, if I can. The caffeine's making me extremely jittery right now. And then you still have all the rest of these beads, so you're gonna do the same thing again. You're gonna skip the very next bead and then slide your needle through the one after the one you skipped, if that makes any sense. And you're just gonna pull it tight, and you're gonna squeeze the beads and flick them around until they are lined up the way that you want them to. So remember that the blue beads were on, oh my goodness, I can't even straighten this. The blue beads were on the left and our tan beads are on the right. So just make sure you keep it oriented in the correct direction. Otherwise you'll be adding beads to the wrong side. So this is bead 1 and 3 from the second row. So we're skipping bead 2, we'll do that on the way down. So you're gonna keep skipping the beads, doing every other one until you get to the top, and you'll be adding bead number 9 of the second row. So this was beads 1 and 3, like I said. Bead number 5 is a blue bead. So we'll pick up one of those and do the exact same thing that we've been doing. So skip the next bead in line and feed your needle through the one following the skipped bead, and only put your needle through one bead at a time. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with funny gaps. always just make sure that you're pulling that needle nice and tight. There you go. We're just gonna keep doing this. We only have a couple beads left on our string. There's 4 of them left. So now bead number 7 looks like it is a medium brown bead. So that's these ones for me here. Skipping that next blue one and feeding it into this dark brown one I have here, if my fingers will cooperate. Having chunky fingers like me definitely makes this a little bit more of a struggle, but that's okay, we get through it. And you just kind of pull on the string until the beads sit nicely. Now we're doing bead number 9, which is a dark brown bead. So we'll pick up another one of those. And then right now you only have 2 beads left on your string if you counted to 10 correctly. So you're gonna skip bead number 9 here, and then you're gonna go through bead number 10. And pulling that nice and tight. So now we've done 1.5 rows. So remember, the blue was on the left, so we're keeping that in our grip with the blue on the left. And now we're gonna start at the top of the second row and do every other bead from there. So the first bead is a dark brown one. This is bead number 1 if you're starting at the top, and you're gonna feed it through the first bead that's sticking out here, which is actually the one that you just put on, going the opposite direction. So doing the same thing, just pulling that until it's tight, and now it's gonna sit flush against the top with the other bead, and you're gonna keep working your way down like that, doing every other bead. So bead number 3 from the top is another dark brown one. Feed it through that bead that's sticking out, because when you're going and doing the other direction, these beads are sitting in the gaps. Oh goodness, you can't even see that. These beads are sitting in the gaps here until we get to the bottom. So that's beads 1 and 3. Bead number 5 is blue. Again, going into that gap and choosing to go through the bead that's sticking out. Bead number 7 is also blue. We're doing that again. And then bead number 9 is light brown. So we'll pick up one of those. And that will be bead number 9 if you're going from top to bottom. So now that you have these 2 completed rows in place, you just keep repeating this pattern until you get to the end, making sure that when you're going from bottom to top, you start at bead number 1, which is the bottom, and then you're skipping every other bead. You're doing 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then when you get to the top, you're doing the other way around. And that's how you do an even count peyote stitch, I believe is what the name for that is. And then I will see you at the end of the 10 rows, and I'll show you what to do at the end. We're obviously not at the end yet. I've just done 1 more row, so now we have 3, or I guess columns, sorry. We have 3 columns. This is what it's looking like so far. At this point, the beads are pretty well attached to each other, so you can unwind the string from your pinky finger, and the beads shouldn't just be like dropping off the end. So when it's like this, I still continue to hold on the top left corner, but I just kind of put my thumb here like this, and then I work along like this. So we'll continue on with the other 7 columns, but now it might be a little bit more comfortable for your hand if you've been wrapping it around your pinky, or you can release the bead that you had tied on the end there and just hold on to the actual piece itself. Hopefully that mini tutorial was relatively informative. I'm so sorry for the construction sounds in the background. Again, obviously renovations are still going on in my house. And I also love that this part of the video is focused on the table and the beads on the table and not what I'm actually doing with my hands. So later in this video, I do change the angle from which I am filming, and it's focused on my hands appropriately. But it is all time lapse, so you still can't really tell what I'm doing. So hopefully this is not a video that you're using as a tutorial for real. This is just a fun little come along with me while I do this beading, and I guess like the progress of this project. Now, when I started this, I thought I was going to be able to finish the whole thing, and then I remembered that I didn't have some of the beads that I needed, so I was gonna have to order more beads or go shopping at my local bead store to find more beads in order to finish this. So this is actually gonna be a multi-part video, probably only 2 parts. Okay, so all 10 rows, 10 columns, have been made into the square. So now that you've done all of this, you still have your needle threaded. You're actually gonna go back down through row 9 here and then thread the needle diagonally through some beads to work in that end string. We're not gonna be tying any knots. We're just gonna make sure that the beads are nice and secure by weaving our way through the work that we've already done. Now make sure that you're going through diagonal beads, not straight ones. Otherwise you will see the string in the gaps of the beads because there is some stretch to this string and you don't want your beads to separate enough that you can see the string through them. Once you feel like your beads are adequately secured enough, whether that's you're chopping the string in the middle or at the end, doesn't really matter, you cut the string off. So that's probably good enough. I'm gonna take my needle off and then I'm gonna cut this thread as short as I possibly can. And then this string can go in the scrap pile or the garbage pile, whatever you want. And then you'll just work that string back into the beads. You're gonna leave this tail from the top left corner. You're just gonna leave it alone until later. Okay, I finished 2 more squares. So this is 2.7 and this is 2.8. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna join these squares together now. So because of the way that I'm doing the peyote stitch, the beads are like in a jaggedy line on the edges, which means that they actually fit together kind of like a puzzle. You can kind of force them together like that, and then you'll be able to see how they're going to fit together. So like I said before, we've left the 2 tails from the leftmost corner of every single piece, and that's how we're gonna sew them together. So taking the square from the right side, so in this case, number 2.8, we're gonna thread the needle onto the string that's left over from there. And then we're gonna make sure that our squares are in the correct orientation before holding them together. So I have the top left, and we're gonna hold them side by side like so. So now you've got this bead that your string is coming out of. You're going to go to the top bead on the other square and stick your needle through that one. And then you're just gonna zigzag through the beads that are poking out until you've essentially zipper stitched all the way down. And make sure you don't catch the string on the beads like I just did there. If you're able to put more than 1 bead on your needle at a time like this, it'll just make your zipper stitching go a little faster. You don't have to do more than 1 bead at a time. Okay, once you've made it to the bottom of your beads, you're gonna unfold it and tighten. And look, now they're seamless because of the type of stitching. And now we're gonna do exactly the same that we did with the other string, and we're gonna weave this in so that we're not tying any knots anywhere. So this is gonna go, because these 2, I don't know if you can see this, but there's no string in between these 2 beads. That's the one I'm gonna go down. And then we're just gonna feed our needle through a bunch of beads the same zigzaggy way. And that is how we attach all of the squares together. So if you don't have the next bead square, leave this tail. And if you're on the leftmost column, so any of the 1 point whatevers, leave the tail behind, because we're gonna use these tails later to sew other pieces together, if that makes any sense. So anyways, let us keep going. So here's more footage of me just sewing together a couple of the finished bead squares that I created. I love how it's looking when all the pieces are strung together. I'm doing the horizontal rows and beading them or sewing them together first, and then once all the rows are completed, then I will sew the rows together just so that it's easier for me to put the pieces together. So this is what I mean where I change the camera angle and you can actually see that it's focused on my hands, it's not focused on the table. Not that you can really see what I'm doing. I'm obviously working with gray and white beads, but anyways, you can also see the pile of beads that I have amassed on the side there. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a lot of the bead squares that I've done, and it's not all of them because I did forget to film a bunch of them, but here they are, and I'll include a picture at the very end of what I have done so far. We're about 40% done this project, so I will see you in part 2. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, post new videos on Mondays or Wednesdays, kind of whenever I have time. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you all in the next video.